Welcome to another OCD Recovery YouTube video. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the nuances of OCD recovery, some of the sections of OCD recovery that usually get missed and not discussed. And I want to cover because it's so important, because when someone is stuck and they're going through that situation, they think, how does anyone else navigate this sort of difficult terrain here? Or this particular thing is very tricky and I don't hear this mentioned much. So that's what I'm going to do today on some of those points. So let's start with contamination OCD. When contamination OCD is starting to consume everything, suddenly things that before weren't an issue have suddenly started to become an issue as OCD is building this like internal spider web of control and fear. So what happens is normal everyday tasks suddenly become particularly challenging and difficult. What might those tasks be? Those tasks may be things like doing up your belt in the bathroom and feeling that, wait a minute, I've just used the toilet, but now I've done up my trousers and I haven't washed my hands yet, so that means my belt's contaminated. People get stuck at that one. What they don't realize is all humans are going with uncertainty there. They're accepting that they can't wash their hands before they've touched their belt. But then when you're stuck in the contamination OCD cycle, you think, but I need to get that done, because otherwise I'm walking around with a contaminated belt all the time after I've used the toilet, and then I can't enjoy any moment. What happens if I go to a restaurant and then that's there? How can I ever enjoy knowing that? And it's just starting to take all these little things. It might be when you walk in the front door with your shoes from outside and then, oh my God, I can't even step inside my house because then I'm bringing whatever was on the street. It's that uncertainty. It's getting comfortable with that uncertainty, getting comfortable with, even if something is contaminated, microscopically, even if you can get comfortable with that sensation. Where it comes in with the mental contamination, it comes in with the disgust feeling, getting comfortable with that, changing your relationship with that. These are key parts there. There's loads of sections where there's these sort of subtle nuances to OCD recovery, like, for example, note-taking. I could come on today's video, for example, many years ago when I was struggling from OCD. If I'd come on, I'd be like, oh, okay, but what if I need to take a note that I suddenly remembered during this video of something I need to remember in relation to OCD, but because I'm talking, I can't write it down. So therefore, I should always have a notepad with me. And that used to particularly get me when I'd go swimming, for example, when you can't swim and take notes. But I used to think, oh my God, what if I think of something just now? And then I'd think of something, oh my God, I could get out of that pool. I've got to write that down, otherwise I forget that, and that might be the missing key for me getting recovered. Other nuances might be subtle fears of things like how quickly it can intervene where the person doesn't realize what it's doing. Maybe somebody is taking their medication and it quickly jumps to, what if you've taken too much? What if the medication's expired? And it intrudes instantly with that sensation that it is, or you've done something wrong. I can remember just taking when I was doing a lot of weight training, I would be taking lots of supplements, and I would just even from a protein shake, and I'd take a protein shake and it would just go, you've had 4 today, that's too many, right? And I'd be like, well, I haven't had 4, this is the first one, it's only 10 a.m. It's like, no, you drank them during the night, you didn't even know. Or taking vitamin tablets, what happens if you just overdose and take the whole lot of vitamins, vitamin C? That's what it can create. It can create all those feelings and sensations. It can create all of that. Fear of taking too much of anything, it can jump in with. It could do that with shots, with alcohol. It could do that with overtraining and exercise, overworking. Oh my God, you're overworked. Oh my God, you're burnt out. Oh my God, you're stressed now. Oh my God, you're going to need to go to hospital. These seem so subtle, but they can create instant panic in a second. I see people that are just taking vitamin C tablet wanting to call an ambulance because they think they're about to overdose. It's just so subtle in the brain that's creating that sensation where the person instantly feels like they're in impending doom and impending danger. Especially with allergies related to food, particular food that people may be avoiding because they fear that if they just eat that, they'll suddenly have an allergic reaction. So there's all these subtle things. Another one is fear of fear. the subtle nature of that, how quickly we can become scared of being scared when we haven't been scared for a long time. And that can obviously interlink with all these other fears, perhaps with an allergy fear. Oh my God, I'm too scared of allergies. What if I hyperventilate? What if I have a panic attack? What if I've now got myself so scared of it, I'm never going to get over it? Those kind of things can come in from all these angles. Maybe it's a sun cream related fear of checking moles and seeing if you've got one that looks like it's changed shape, and then wanting to go for a mole check and then beating yourself up. Why didn't I get one sooner? How did I leave that? How could I be so stupid? And then endlessly checking moles instead of getting comfortable with the uncertainty, which is key. Maybe you're putting on sun cream factor 50 on a day when it's raining, just because you're scared of the sun being out later, and then getting stuck in a position where you can't put on sun cream. And then what happens is, when you get into that position where you can't put on sun cream, you then think, oh, I'm gonna have to beat myself up because I was so stupid, I wasn't prepared, or something like that. Some variation of that. It could be as little as anything, like it doesn't have to be a thing that is as obvious as that. It can be very subtle, rare disease symptoms, like maybe biting your tongue, and then a common compulsion that can occur as a sort of a habit for getting rid of a discomfort sensation. And then it could be, what if I've done it too much and then I've got an infection, or I've given myself cancer, and then checking your mouth, and then they can sort of compound on each other, where the biting then causes your tongue to become slightly damaged, which then you've got a fear of having a damaged tongue, and so you're constantly checking how your tongue feels, which is a compulsion, and then checking to see if you could have a disease there or a lump, and then because you've bitten it, there is a lump, and then all these things go round in cycles. And when you're sort of going through this alone and you don't understand, the thing that gets then tricky for people is they go, well, Rob, I need to know if I'm genuinely ill, because how can I tell if it's OCD or not? Well, you're not always going to be able to tell. Often I'd go to a doctor and I'd think, shit, I really need to see them. And then, oh no, you're fine. But then I thought, did I need to? Did I not? And finding it very hard to navigate that territory. Navigating, trying to work out how to act, what to do, that then becomes a problem in all of this. As you start improving, you start thinking to yourself, it becomes difficult to navigate life at times, because you're so used to not going or not doing and avoiding or checking or whatever, that when it actually comes time that you've overcome a lot of those hurdles and now you've got to overcome things in life, you're not in a position where you can, because you're in a position where you can, but you're in a position where you don't know how to, so you start avoiding a bit. I was specifically like that with the doctor, from going way too much to check to not going at all, and then becoming avoiding of hearing bad news, because I thought then that'd set my anxiety back, because then what if I got triggered with bad news, then I would be in a bad position again. So then avoiding, or then getting told that I go too often, then not going at all, and then not knowing how often to go, and then the balance, then asking other people for reassurance. How often do you go? How often would you go with this thing? And then that setting up a sort of vicious cycle of reassurances. I'm just constantly checking, am I doing things right? Which becomes the same with anxiety recovery. That constant chase of, am I doing anxiety recovery right? Have I got this right? Am I understanding this right? Have I made a mistake? Am I going to get stuck again? All these angles that it comes in from. And it's going to do that. It's going to, it's a doubting disorder. It's going to look for all those things in every single way. You can doubt anything in 1 second. And it will just go 0 to 100 in that moment. So that's why you need to learn to sit with the discomfort. And it's going to become as real as hell. It's going to feel as real as it can get. That's been a message we've been sort of drilling home for years and years now, that it's going to feel as real as it can get. And the urges are going to come out of nowhere and feel as real as it can get. And they can come on any time out of nowhere. And until we started talking about urges, people didn't even really understand about urges. It was all talks about thoughts and just general feelings, but like urges, you can be walking down the street and it gives you an urge to push someone out in the road. That urge can come on 3 years after recovery. It can come on at any point. It feels like the real you wanting to do that. It feels like that. And so we really wanted to raise awareness and talk all about that, because that's often so missed. It's talked about a bit, but not really in the extent that it needs to be, because it keeps people stuck so much. People find that so difficult with an urge, because it's so convincing. But I wasn't even anxious. I wasn't even worried about anything. Why is this urge suddenly popped out of nowhere? Well, that's what it does. There can be intrusive thoughts, intrusive urges. It can come from any angle. That's its nature. It's sneaky. It's subtle. And so so being aware of how it operates, these specifics, helps you to distance from it and have an understanding of how it's coming to try and cause problem for you. So that's key. And that's why I wanted to just come on here and talk a bit about today some of those subtle areas that OCD tries to niggle its way into. And then we will cover those more so you have more of an insight of that along the journey. And that's a large part of what we're doing in the coaching. When I'm working with someone one-to-one, I'm thinking, right, what's sort of subtly going on here? Oh, that's why they're stuck. They're still trying to control things too much. They're still trying to work something out too much. Oh, they're still too scared. We've got to work on acceptance here and bring that down. And we're looking for those particular angles and customizing it to them uniquely. So looking at exactly why they are stuck and what is the thing keeping them stuck. And that's key, because often we can be going around, I've got to accept this, or I've got to do this exposure to that, and it's difficult. It's easier when it's someone else looking from afar can observe and see, yes, this is where you're going down that dead end path. That's where. So that's a large part of what I do day to day, and what I want to come on here and talk a bit about in relation to all those nuances of OCD. Guys, great to see you on here. I will be back on very soon. Take it easy, guys.